Hello there and welcome to Inspiring Salon Professionals this week. This is the second part of my interview with Philippa Holding, the mindset and female empowerment coach, who has done so much for me over the last 4 or 5 months, and it would be wrong not to share the knowledge that this lady has. She is truly a blessing to all of us. So I really hope that you enjoy this week's episode, and I will catch up with you on the other side. I know when I had my salon, I know that I went through burnout probably 2 or 3 times over the years I was in it. And you, as one of my lovely friends, has probably watched and helped and supported me through some of those processes. But I went through burnout, and I don't think at the time I realised I was going through it. I don't think I knew I was going through something that was quite overwhelming, but I don't think until I've now had the hindsight of being out of it for nearly a year. And that gives you an amazing reflection of what it is that I now don't have in my life, and the negative things that I experienced as being that salon owner. And so what kind of signs are people looking for if they're thinking that they're feeling a bit overwhelmed? At what point should they be concerned about burnout and overwhelm?
If you are feeling exhausted, even after getting 7 hours sleep, okay, that's the first thing. If you are starting to feel cynical within your salon environment and starting to question, oh, why am I doing this? Things like that, okay, those are things that you want to sort of like start to attune to, okay? If you're feeling quite emotional at the drop of a hat, okay, that's another significant sign.
Tick, tick, because that's where I was there, and it's so common. Sorry, go on.
Well, really, essentially, if you imagine your car that's parked in your drive, okay, and imagine you're living on a house sort of like that's at the top of a hill, and you decide to get in your car, you switch the engine on, okay, and it goes out of your driveway but down the hill, and then all of a sudden it like conks out. You call the mechanic along, and he opens up the bonnet hood and like looks around and sort of like says to you, well, where's the engine? How have you even got it? Essentially, that is what burnout is. You are pushing your body past its natural reserves and resources to a point where it cannot function anymore. And when you're in a state of overwhelm, okay, you're in that state of like fight or flight, okay, and you're in that state of survival mode.
Yeah.
And so your unconscious mind will start to like put things in place to actually force you to rest. So as an example, okay, even though it sits around burnout, if somebody is experiencing fibromyalgia, there's a misconception that people that have that and experience that, that they aren't bringing themselves to the table, that they're making excuses about whether they can do this, that, or the other. Actually, that's not true. It's that they've consistently pushed past burnout, pushed past it again to the point where the body and the mind connection forces dis-ease onto the body, one after another, to the point where you physically cannot move anymore, and you are literally in this place of being forced to rest, because your unconscious mind is okay, its purpose is survival, it's for your highest good. Being able to actually go in and change that pattern and change the agreement, okay, and say, okay, I'm not going to push past myself anymore. I'm going to recognize where I actually need to practice self-care. And we can talk a little bit about self-care if you want to afterwards, actually what self-care means. Mm-hmm. And if it believes, okay, that you're going to follow that out, and I've experienced it with previous clients as well, that agreement can be made, then it releases all of the diseases within the body-mind connection. The only time it will ever bring it back again is if you break the agreement and start to push yourself beyond the boundaries that you've agreed it's set. Okay. And it really is as simple as that.
I think it's interesting, but it's interesting that you pick up on fibromyalgia, because one of the things that I've noticed over the years in this industry, and I don't have experience of this outside of this industry because I'm not outside of it, but the number of therapists in this industry that suffer, and mainly business owners that I'm aware of, but the amount of people that are business owners and salon owners and have fibromyalgia in their lives, and it's sort of like one of those Venn diagram things. And as you know, I mean, I had a really awful vitamin D deficiency that I was being tested for fibromyalgia, but mine was all related to vitamin D. But it gave me very, very similar symptoms to fibromyalgia. And I literally had reached a point of, in 2015, I reached a point where I couldn't actually was it 2014? I don't know when it was, 2014, 15. At some point, it was a long time ago now. It's obviously gone. Can't remember. We must have worked that one through. I don't know. But I literally was walking. I can remember my auntie came over from Australia, who's 81 at the time, and she was walking faster than I was. I couldn't keep up with her. Yeah. And I was in such a state of debilitation. I couldn't process. It was awful. And all of that came from just push on myself the whole time. I didn't stop. And I took it. I never said no to anything. I said yes to everything that came in my pathway, because I've got a terrible FOMO problem of like that I could miss something. And so I just said yes to everything. And I still do that a little bit now. But I try to be a bit more reflective and stop and think if it's going to benefit me or not. Yeah. Which we had a conversation yesterday, didn't we, about something, whether it was going to benefit me or not. But now I stop. Whereas before I would have just gone, yeah, I'm doing that. I need that in my life. And like now I'm actually stopping, reflecting and working it out. And if I'd have only done that like 6, 7 years or whenever it was, 8 years ago, I wouldn't have been very unwell. I was very, very unable to function for probably about 2 or 3 years. And I don't know how I got through it. I mean, there was a lot of different things that went on with it. And I was under my GP and different consultants and stuff for nearly 3 years. And it was horrendous. But all of that came from not listening to myself and not listening to my body and not listening to my unconscious mind telling me just what a hide into nothing I was on.
Yeah. And the thing is like, sometimes you'll hear in sort of like the media about, okay, like self-care, you know what, go and run yourself like a bath and like put some aromatherapy oils in there and light some candles and all of like those things. They are great. However, they will not deal with the root cause and the reason that you are in this perpetual cycle of burnout and pushing yourself way beyond your body's natural limitations. And until you actually sort of like deal with the root cause of that, then you will continue to like, repeat the cycle. You may be able to like break it for a period of like time, but it will come back really, really like quickly. I hit burnout in 2017. I'd overcome cancer 3 times. My 17-year relationship literally like disintegrated overnight. And I love it. And working in a high intense industry for like 17 years and managing critical incidents all the way across like London, responsible for various different things across 32 London boroughs, and it takes its toll. However, I had unknowingly, pushed past those limits to the point where it was like I couldn't even get out of bed. And it took me about six to 7 months to get myself back to a point where I could actually like do normal day-to-day functions. And the reason that I was able to like recover really quickly is because I gained this skill set, and I knew then how to actually sort of like start to like talk to my mind in a way that it follows the instruction that I give it, because it's constantly listening.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly saying, oh, I'm exhausted, it doesn't sort of like hear, you know, I'm okay. It just hears the exhaustion and it thinks, okay, you want to feel exhausted. So let me put that pattern into play where you do feel exhausted then.
And I sometimes I do wonder how, because I actually carried on working through all of my burnout, and I didn't stop until we got to lockdown, and then I just carried on doing other new stuff because I never give myself a chance to rest. But I've learn't now. I don't do it. But I know, I mean, I carried on, and I went to work every day, and I do not know now, looking back, I do not know how I made myself do it, other than the fact that as the business owner, I felt so responsible for still providing that service, for still making sure that the team that worked in the salon were looked after in whatever, you know, in the way I'd always been there, and the way that I tried to always to manage the business, and that I wasn't letting anyone down. But the price it had on my health, was immense. And I think that we need to give ourselves a break from thinking that that's normal, because that isn't normal.
It isn't.
We should not be putting ourselves through that. And I think at the moment, as an industry, we are pushing ourselves, as the business owners, we are definitely pushing ourselves into those places more and more, as the costs mount and all of those things we're just talking about mindset and charging your worth and all of that. If you don't feel empowered to do that, you're going to get more and more and more of this overwhelm and the burnout beginning to happen. And which Absolutely. Is why I wanted Philippa on here at the moment, because I think we all need to hear the words that she shares, because it's so important to look at what it is that you're doing. And I know, like, I had a bit of an incident recently, and I made sure now, I knew that I was going to have a very stressful period of time. And so I made sure I even cancelled Philippa.
I know. But I understood it.
Yeah, but I knew that with what I had going on, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to process anything else other than what that task was at that time. And so I just took myself out for 2 or 3 days and rested. Can't say, I won't say it, because I actually ended up in hospital, but because it was really quite stressful, and I ended up had a bit of a weird incident thing. But I knew, if goodness knows what would have happened if I hadn't have taken that time out. But I just sat and I literally rested my mind and rested my body for 2 days around that time, because I knew how important it was just to let my brain process what was going on. And
it's important to have the awareness to go and inside and really listen and attune yourself to how your body is giving you signs and signals. And I say this to say, with my last tumour that was back in 2012, I was experiencing really like significant pain in the abdominal area. And I had learned to understand the differences in levels of pain in my body. And this one particular evening, even though I've been going to the GP and they would like tested me for Crohn's, for colitis, came back like negative, and they just sort of like said, oh, it's a little bit of like extreme IBS. And I'm like, this is not extreme IBS. I know my body enough to know its signs and its signals to say that this isn't IBS. Anyway, they said, oh, drink some sort of like peppermint tea, maybe sort of like some drops or whatever in it, and you'll be fine. However, this particular one evening, the pain was so excruciating but different to what I had normally felt. I responded to that. I knew that I needed to like take some action, so I took myself to the A&E. Actually, it was my appendix was about to rupture, and what was in the appendix was a malignant carcinoid tumour. So had I not actually like listened and taken action and like learned to like understand the pains and signs and signals in my body, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
No.
Burnout in its same essence isn't something to toy with. Burnout is serious, you know, and everything, when you think about, stress, anxiety, depression, all of those things, you know what, the starting point is stress. and everything else follows from that. It's an underlying issue that starts from stress, okay, overexerting yourself. If people want to understand and get just to do a temperature check with regards to, okay, where they sit on the burnout scale, because awareness gives you empowerment to make changes, okay? You can go to my website, or we can like link it to this episode.
We put a link
and
in.
There's like a little burnout quiz that I've developed, and it's not a diagnostic tool. It's just to give you an awareness with regards to where you sit in the burnout scale, and you can then choose with whatever the results are for you to then look at, okay, what are the changes that I am wanting to choose to do things differently? Because when you are in burnout, okay, it's a sliding scale, and you can intervene and stop that scale and stop yourself from like hitting burnout. Because the thing is, when you hit burnout, yes, you can still like push yourself past that, but you know, how is your business going to thrive? How are you going to deliver the exceptional experiences that your clients are looking for and paying you for? So it's a responsibility to not only yourself, but also your clients to look after yourself properly. And remember as well that even when you're doing various different services, even if you're running a team, you're influencing how they also do things.
Yeah.
So if they are seeing that you are actually taking really great care of yourself, then they will absolutely do the same. And then you'll find that the efficiency and the consistency within your salon will be a lot better. And it really does come down to, you know, practicing proper self-care, and also with regards to like mindset, belief, habits, all of like those things.
Yeah. So, because I think, like, you know, you saying about like the self-care thing about, you know, sticks in the aromatherapy oils in the bath and light a candle, you know, I think that is so, you see it so often that, you know, that's, you know, people's treat themselves and that they see that as self-care, and it is, and you are obviously looking after you by doing that, and you're taking time out and enabling relaxing, which, you know, relaxation is a huge part of self-care, and without that your body can't process the things it needs to do. You know, it's the whole point. While, you know, when you're asleep, parasympathetic system kicks in, so that relaxed state does allow your body to start healing and your mind to start healing. But like Philippa says, unless you actually address why that is happening and why you're ending up in that position of feeling overwhelmed, feeling burnout, feeling you know, a little bit stressed, because I think that's what I did. I thought for a long time I was just a bit stressed. And if you're feeling like you're just a bit stressed, then you probably are really stressed.
Yeah.
Because your conscious mind will always kind of downplay it, I've found, in me anyway. And I'm sure that goes for a lot of people.
It does go for
you keep trying to justify why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is like, you know, true rest is, you know, not even like lying on the couch and like watching a movie. Okay. Yeah. True rest is actually intentionally being in that space where nothing else is going on, pure silence. And if it's drifting off to sleep, it's drifting off to sleep. That is true rest. Self-care should absolutely be something that you plan into your week, not something that you do because of like, okay, maybe I should do something, or it's an if or a maybe. No, it's an absolute must.
Isn't it something I've got to do more of? I do everything, but it's terrible though, because, you know, I mean, I'm a person of great intentions, and I think that's also something that many of us do, isn't it? Is, I mean, every day I think, yes, I'm going to get up and I'm going to be up early, and I'm going to go and walk the dog, and then I'm going to go and, you know, do all these wonderful things and, you know, be a better person. And invariably I sit having a cup of tea and sitting on my laptop working, and the dog doesn't get walked until the evening, and time eludes me, and it's very, very hard to make those changes, very, very hard to make those changes and develop the new habits, because that's what it needs to be.
If you keep on saying to yourself that it's hard to make the new changes, then yeah, absolutely, your unconscious mind is going to like follow that. and it's going to kind of like give you a perspective that, okay, it's not possible. However, if you change the language and you say to yourself, okay, yeah, it's going to be challenging, it's going to be a little bit stretching. However, it gives me an opportunity to, evolve and grow and develop, and I'm going to have really great fun doing it.
Yeah.
Then it's actually like opening up possibility for yourself in a whole different way.
I can't wait to move, and when I start, because at the moment, hence the wonderful the wonderful purpley sky behind me, is I've just got a big pile of boxes and house moving paraphernalia behind me. And it is so but once this is, I've got so many I literally have got so many physical obstacles around me at the moment, and when I am moving, then things are going to be shifting, because it is at the moment I'm stuck in a very peculiar place of limbo, and it's hard to do anything when you're in a place of limbo. She says, using the wrong language again.
I thought I
know you won't. I know you won't.
Awareness.
I'm aware that I'm saying the wrong words. It's super easy, yeah, but there's so much, and I think I've been working with Philippa for the last few months, and made a decision to get involved in her Empowered Women program, and it's been fascinating, and I've learned huge amounts about myself, and have been able to make a lot of shifts and change how I word things a lot, but clearly it's not happening today.
Well, it's always happening.
Yeah.
However, you now have the empowered awareness that, okay, maybe I might want to change that.
Yeah.
But that's a significant difference for yourself, that you're catching yourself and okay, I'm going to change that.
Yeah.
And all day long you're going to be doing those things every day. Even I still do it for myself. We're never the finished article. It's just that, okay, the next level that we go up into, okay, there's different challenges that come along the way, and it's how we rise out of those things, as especially through this week, celebrating International Women's Day, and but it's how we absolutely rise out of those situations. Who are the women that we decide to become?
Yeah.
But also, how do we influence the spheres that are around us, and how do we change the narrative for ourselves, and also what is possible for ourselves. And it all comes down to 80 to 85% of the results that you want to see in your life come down to mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's taking the first step to changing mindset and how you view your world, because I think that's so much of you become restricted by what you've lived and how you function on a daily basis, and there's always an alternative. And I think recognizing that there's an alternative out there is really, really important. I was just trying to find actually a quote I had the other day from my International Women's Day post. I've lost it. I'm just trying to. Facebook just doesn't work very quickly, but a lot of it kind of made me think about the stuff I've done with you. And it was the quote was, bravery is the audacity to be unhindered by failures and to walk with freedom, strength and hope in the face of the unknown. And I think it sums up so much. We're in such uncertain times, and having that ability to be able to take those steps forward at the moment it's a challenging time. Yeah. Definitely. And I think we all need to look at our mindset, because we're going to have a challenging couple of years ahead of us.
Yeah.
And if we can do anything to make positive steps in the right direction to change our mindset, then that has to be a worthwhile job to do.
Absolutely. When you look at the women that have inspired you personally, whether it be within your family or through history, they've all faced challenging times. However, the women, how they've risen through those experiences and paved the way forward, and the legacy that they leave behind for us in terms of, shattering the glass ceiling, as the saying goes, in various different spaces. What do you think the mindset was for them? Yeah. That they believed in themselves, that they could absolutely shatter that glass ceiling,
Yes.
despite the chaos or the challenge that they may have been facing at that moment in time. And there is absolutely no reason, okay, unless you decide to choose for yourself, as to why you cannot personally shatter those internal glass ceilings for yourself and actually, you know, be the leader. Because whether you have the title of a leader, you absolutely are like leading yourself. You're leading as a mom, as a business owner, you know, as a sister, you know, obviously sort of like, you know, your work with the nail industry, etc. as well.
Yeah.
You know, and we've like talked a little bit, if it's okay to say, about like your leadership. And, you know, it's about how you make change in the world. For me, I've known since experiencing disempowerment in various different spaces throughout like my life, and being unseen and unheard, that I was no longer going to choose that for myself.
No.
And, you know, I am crafting and paving the way as the first in many different spaces, but I honour it and bring all of the women alongside me, not behind me, alongside me, and partner with them to be the change in the world that this world so very desperately like needs. And that can be from a community level, even in your home, to even sort of like global, which is where I sit.
Yeah. Super global.
Wow, working across 5 different time zones.
Yeah, I know.
I've really had to learn to like balance sort of like my my time, but I love it. And I just, you know, it doesn't feel like work for me. I absolutely am walking in my purpose.
Yeah. And
it's just a great space to be in. I'll be in Vegas soon, but
I know. I'm so jealous. I so want to come. Philippa's got her breathe retreats, isn't it? Yeah. And you've got one in Miami, one in Vegas, and one in Atlanta. Just like the jet set life, and working with international clients is just great. And having that opportunity to do those things is you know, but that the thing is as well is that what everyone needs to remember is that this has happened for Philippa because she had the belief that was going to work and it was going to be. And therefore it is. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just so I'm humbled with it, and just blessed that I've been like gifted like this vision, and I'm stewarding it and putting the belief and the steps and the accountability behind it all, and just showing, you know, other women it's possible if you choose it.
Yeah, but you have got to take the step and make the choice. Absolutely. Because otherwise you just sit at your laptop all day and don't do anything. But as we know, Philippa, that's all about to change, isn't it? I like my ears. I think I've had a wake-up call in the last few days, and have discovered something that is going to give me a spring forward massively.
I'm so excited for that.
I'm so excited too. I know. I keep sort of sitting thinking like little scalability stuff, and it is, but it's just having that belief that in actual fact, even though I don't have the skills that I'm going to get soon, I haven't got those at the moment, but I've got an understanding of what they can do, and it can be a really, really powerful journey. Absolutely. And you're going to be taking your clients as well on a really like empowered and powerful journey also. Yeah, indeed. So I'm going to ask you, because I always, whenever I have people on, I just ask them some very quick questions. Okay. So shoot from the hip kind of answers. We don't, yes, no's, or whatever's. So what makes you get out of bed in the morning? Empowering women. Mm-hmm. What has been the happiest moment in your career so far? Oh, happiest moment in my career so far. Creating an empowerment program that impacted 26,000 people. Yeah, that's quite impressive. Yeah. What's the best piece of advice that you have been given? And did you listen and learn at the time, or did you just ignore it and find out the hard way that they were right? So, my mentor is Tony Robbins, and I've been blessed to be mentored by him for the last 2 or so years. And he always says this statement about success leaves clues. If you are attuned to your
surroundings and the people that you choose to surround yourself with and who you're inspired by. Look at the success habits that they do. Look at, you know, the way of thinking that they have, and learn to start to model those things, because absolutely success leaves clues. So that's the one that I choose to follow. Excellent. And obviously I model a lot of the things.
But also, and actually if people, I mean, I would imagine huge numbers of people are very aware of who Tony Robbins is. But if you aren't, he's got a fascinating there's a little documentary on Netflix that kind of talks, that follows one of his programs that he does in America. Guru. And he's a fascinating man, absolutely fascinating. And also just so tall.
I know, he's over 6 foot.
He's about 6'7" or something, isn't he? He's a big guy. He makes my husband, he's well over 6 foot, but he makes him look little. But Tony Robbins is amazing and a great advocate for empowerment, isn't he? Hugely. Just yeah. Okay. So if you could change one thing in your career, what would it be?
That I had started on this journey a lot earlier. Hey, I'm on it now, and that's the most important thing. You know, not everything needs to be perfect. We're not looking for perfectionism. We're looking for excellence, and we're looking for things to be started, and everything else will start to fall into place. Indeed.
That's a very, very valid point. So, and I think, well, maybe I know the answer to this, but maybe you have a different answer. What person, place, or experience has inspired you the most professionally?
Well, obviously, I've mentioned Tony Robbins. Another person of influence for me is Oprah Winfrey. She looked at so when she was having her talk show on the US cable networks, she also had the foresight to look at how the environment was changing, obviously to Amazon and Netflix and so on and so forth. And she thought, what is it that I can bring to the table that my audience is after and seeking, but nobody else is doing it? And it really did start her on this path of producing Soul Sundays and bringing guest speakers like Wayne Dwyer and Iyanla Vanzant, and just really looking at a whole different dynamic with regards to how life can be. Your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what is true and what is not. So therefore, if you imagine the final outcome of you being successful, whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve in life, as long as you hold that picture and it's aligned with your values, it's aligned with your belief system, it's aligned with the actions that you take, then that is what you are going to live. So you absolutely can create the life and the business that you do want.
Just by talking to yourself in the right way.
Absolutely. So for me, I look at how by using her journalistic talents and her ability to be able to really ask the right questions of people at the right time, and be able to open up possibility for people, that's what really kind of inspires me. And that's what I kind of do, not kind of, I do. I'm being aware of my language now.
But I used to watch her so much when the kids were little. I used to watch Oprah every day, and she's where I learned that it's funny actually, and I've just been reading something about this morning, about people living with piles of stuff, and understanding what, because I always have stacks of papers, always got piles of whatever. And I've always been like it. It's something that's just rooted in me, that is something I do. And I've now begun understanding, and Oprah was one of the first places that I began to understand that it comes from this perfectionist state. A lot of it looks like it's the least thing of being a perfectionist, but it's just this I can't ever process things until I can make it perfect. So I'll just put it to the side till I can make it perfect. And it's a really, really difficult trait that I have, because it drives me insane. But I've just also read something else that was saying about like ADHD minds. And I do wonder some, because I do tend to do lots of different things, and I think I probably do have some of those traits. And one of those is that you have to have everything within sight, because otherwise you forget that you've got it. And it was a really fascinating sentence though, when I read that, because I can't ever put anything away, because when I need it next time, it won't be where I want it to be. But a lot of this
what that says to me is, okay, that's something that we can absolutely change for you. But the root cause of what that is saying, really, from my perspective of the world, and feel free to reject this, is that actually you're perhaps saying to yourself that you don't trust yourself to recall the information that you've actually absorbed and become aware of in the right space and in the right time. So therefore you need access to it. But actually,
I couldn't possibly live in a minimalist state. It wouldn't work for me. I'd struggle.
I think you could.
Okay, maybe that's the next thing we can work on, is how to get Sue to work and live in a minimalist state. Because it's a challenge. But Oprah Winfrey, she is an amazing, I mean, what she has done for the women's movement around the world, and the charitable work that her foundation does. I mean, she is just absolute goddess of it all.
And considering, like what she has overcome in her own personal life, to then be able to heal and set that aside, but make sure that she can make this world a better place. And if that's really kind of like the ethos that I live by, and I've just got this little thing on my desk just to remind myself every day, in terms of, okay, the legacy that I want to like leave and be known by is just that this woman Philippa made the world a better place for the rest of us. And it's as simple as that.
And it is important. I think that I could probably empathize with that quite a lot, because it is everything that I want to achieve with what I'm doing is about making people be able to work better, be able to understand their businesses better, be able to just make themselves a better life, and accept that they are able to do so, and that the only thing that's stopping them is how they actually access that and how they have the power to move it forward. And it's just self-belief, isn't it? I know when I first started my salon, I was so terrified it was all going to go wrong, and how could it possibly go right, because there's just little me, and I've got this business now, and I'd worked at home for years, and I've worked in the industry for years, but that the responsibility of having that premises and having everything that goes with that, and it was terrifying. I can remember that I'd opened in the November, and being at the first Christmas, and we all sat, and it became a tradition, which we finished it last year at Christmas, that every year we used to go to Pizza Express on Christmas Eve, and we'd sit and do so guess how much money I took this week. And I can remember that first year when I first opened, I'd only been open for about 4 weeks when we closed at Christmas. And, I'd gone from being at home and earning probably about £300 a week, something like that. And we sat, and I was like, okay, so how much do you think I earn? I can't believe how much I've earned. And it was £976 and some pennies. What? And to have done that and go from, to triple my earnings, and I wasn't even busy. We weren't even that busy. And then over the years, that Christmas week ended up at sort of £2,500, like nearly £3,000 at different points. And it was, the self-belief that grew from, just from that first Christmas, and it became like an annual check-in of how well was I doing. And it, really it serves no purpose, because Christmas week is like the biggest weird anomaly that you'll ever get in a business. So it actually serves no purpose really. But for me, it became an indicator of my achievement and how well I'd done, because that week it showed, how the business had grown and how our ability to cater for more people and to have more services and to be charging more money and all of that. And, and it was this key, a proper KPI really, I suppose, of how well we were doing. And then last year, once I sold the salon, it had gone right back down to where it started from. but then I'm only doing I'm doing a few clients at home, and doing very, very many fewer clients than I was when I was working from home before I had the salon, and I was still earning the same amount of money, doing far less clients, because that level of self-belief has changed so much that, you know, back then I was probably doing 15 clients a week, say, and now I was probably doing 5 clients a week and earning the same money I was before I opened the salon. And it is just that belief that actually, no, I'm worthy, and I should be earning money, and I can earn money, and people will pay me.
Absolutely, amen to that.
Mindset is, but it's that mindset, isn't it? Just that belief that, you know, and I'm sure, I mean, if any of my clients ever listen to this, they'll probably be like, what? But I know that many of my clients would probably pay more, because, you know, I know tomorrow and Saturday I've got some of my longest serving clients that are going to have their last treatment ever with me. And it's going to be really, you know, and I know it's going to be an emotional, you know, couple of days, because it's like, you know, these people have supported me from really, really back in the day, from when I first started. And this is going to be our last experience together. And it's going to be very, very odd. But they believe in me. And when you've got clients like that, how can you not believe in yourself?
Exactly. It's always about reciprocity and the investment and the actual relationship. Okay, if you approach it from a point of everything is transactional, that again in its own self will like keep you stuck. But if you approach it in terms of like investing and like relational and that equal reciprocity, then, you know, everything is possible. Absolutely. Make sure that you put your column of empowerment out, okay, over each space, just to like manage your state. Because I can understand that it's going to be one of like those experiences that could be emotional.
I think it's, do you know what though, I think I've reached a point now, you know, I've said goodbye to a few of them already. But these last few, they are probably the, you know, the ones that have been there through the thick and thin of everything. And they're, you know, they've been, you know, they're sort of old, they're older than me, and I suppose they have that sort of maternal sort of space, I suppose, that they hold a little bit. But it's gonna be interesting. But I think, you know, I feel like now this is like the full circle of my salon life kind of thing. And it's time to say goodbye to it. It's and move on to, and it is, and maybe this is one of those last obstacles that, you know, sometimes you need to say goodbye to this stuff so that you can move on to the next bits.
Absolutely. Sometimes when we like have things that attach to the past, they unknowingly still become like blockers. So when like you release those things, then you know what, you can open and go into like this next chapter. You're still going to have your friendship. It's, you know, and that's like a beautiful gift that's this whole like time spending doing these treatments is still going to gift you.
That's it. It is, but I think like now, I mean, the nail kit's got to stay out because my nails are a mess. So, and I can't go without my nails. So the nail kit's going to be staying out. But it's like this time, like the facial kit's going away, the wax kit's going away, and it is, and it's. I think this is going to be quite a weird weekend actually, because there's going to be a lot of saying goodbye to who I've been, and it is that whole identity thing, and that's another whole episode.
So
it is. I'm going to change identity. We'll see who I am next week. But it's time for me to stop being Sue the therapist and Sue the nail technician. It's time for me to be whatever the next bit is.
I, you know, when I packed my salon away and said sort of like goodbye to my clients as well, that was a journey. However, you know, stepping into like the new season and the new version of Philippa and helping them actually be able to still have a great life, but just in a different way, has just like been immense. And that's the thing, is that, okay, this next chapter of life that you're starting to like walk into is full of excitement and opportunity and insight. And you're going to have an amazing time doing it.
I can't wait. I know. Look, this is like turning into like Sue therapy session. But anyway, we should leave it there, because I think we've covered lots and lots on today's episode, and I'm sure Philippa will come back and we'll do a whole thing about identity, and there's so much that Philippa does and so much that she can share. And so I'm gonna hit the stop recording button, and thank you. So, and also, Philippa, just please, before we do that, can you just share where people can find you, and we'll put all the links in the show notes. But if you can just share where they can connect with you.
Sure. So you can either connect with me on Instagram. I am Philippa Holding. Yeah. You can also connect with my website, which is www.philippaholding.com. My Facebook page, Philippa Holding Coaching. Actually, if you put Philippa Holding in Google,
you'll find her, because there's not that many Philippa Holdings. She's one of a kind, and she's and also, because I always have to think about this, and she's a Philippa with 1 L 2 P's. And,
yes.
Because I always have to stop and think. So it's 1 L 2 P's. But if you type in Philippa Holding into Google, she'll just pop up. She is unique.
I absolutely am.
Yeah. Oh dear. Right. So hopefully everyone can go and find you, and do go and take Philippa's Burnout Quiz as well, because it's always good to just do a little bit of check and see where you're at. And sometimes we can be in the beginnings of burnout, or even at the high ends of burnout, and not recognize what it is. So go and do that, and go and do your little burnout quiz, and we will have Philippa back at another point. So that's all there is for this week. So thanks very much for joining me, Philippa, and we will stop recording now. Wow, we've covered a huge amount over these last 2 episodes with Philippa, and my thanks go to her for sharing all of that wisdom and knowledge with all of us. And yeah, as always with Philippa, it kind of always turns into a conversation that could just go on forever, because her insights into how we work as human beings is just amazing. And it does always feel like a therapy session talking to her, because she's always able to just put a twist on what it is that is happening, and why the behaviours that you're showing and exhibiting are there. So it's always wonderful talking to her. And in this episode, obviously talking about burnout and how you recognise the symptoms, and taking her burnout quiz could be the start of you understanding that maybe you're working in a way that isn't serving your best purpose. So get over to her website and check that out. The links will be all over the places that they normally are, and do check the show notes on YouTube and on your podcast platform to make sure that you're getting the most out of the episode. Don't forget that Philippa has put an amazing offer together for anyone that is part of my world. So get over to Inspiring Salon Professionals Facebook group, where you can find all the details on the offer. And I will speak to you soon. Bye for now.